Hey family, I am going to read a portion of that 3-page letter that I started last post. Julia is actually really enjoying these. She's listening to them right before bed. They're soothing to her. And so I'm putting them on YouTube for you guys to have. I hope you're enjoying them. I really want to get all this stuff down before everything goes back to whatever normal used to be, whatever it's going to be. I actually started back to work a couple days a week in the office and went in for a few hours today, but we were sent home because of protests near the Capitol. My offices are actually right down by the Capitol and here in Tallahassee. So it's beautiful. Love the city. Never thought I would end up staying here, but here, my mom's side has been here since before statehood, so I guess it's appropriate. Anybody who wants to visit, come on. I'm glad to give you a tour. But it's just weird times. So I've been at home watching TV, makeup free. I'm in my pajamas. But I love you guys and want to share this stuff. The type on this letter is really fair. So bear with me if I kind of skim through some of it. I do want to kind of go through some names though, just as a reminder. So Bumba is my grandmother. Bumba's dad was Bland Moxley. Bland's daddy was the Reverend H.C. Henderson Carey Moxley, who I read to you was named after an uncle on the Joins side of the family. So there was Bumba, then Bland, then Reverend H.C. Moxley, and then H.C.'s dad was Nathaniel. Bland's middle name is Nathaniel, and I told you that Mason's, one of the short list of names I had for Mason was Nathaniel. Nathaniel's dad was Zachariah Moxley, and Zachariah was married to Susanna Wagner. So the reason that's important, you'll see, is this letter gets a little tricky. So bear with me as I go through it. So I'm going down to about the 3rd paragraph, and Uncle Click and Aunt Jody write, I don't have any information on the Joins' experience in the Civil War. Instead, I'll tell you of the terrible treatment of Daniel Krause. Krause is spelled C-R-O-U-S-E, so it's spelled with a C. All because he was helping family. First, we must go back a generation in the Moxley family. Remember Nathaniel Moxley above, grandfather of Bland. His father, Bland's great-grandfather, was Zachariah Moxley, who married Susanna Wagner. Nathaniel was the 10th and youngest child of Zachariah and Susanna. The oldest child was Betty, called Betsy, who was born in 1832. That's how far back. Wait, this is incredible information. And this is not even the tip of the ice. This is just the tip of the iceberg and how far back our records go on this side of the family. So Betty was the oldest child and Zachariah was the youngest, okay? So they had a brother named Thomas who was born in 1837, so Thomas Moxley, and another brother, John Moxley, who was born in 1842. Betsy married Daniel Krause, who was related to Jenny Krause Joins somehow. So that's another line of the family. Not sure how. At any rate, many of the people of Allegheny County, North Carolina, were not sympathetic to the cause of the South in the Civil War because they did not like slavery. Krause and Thomas Moxley joined the Confederate Army, but later changed their minds and deserted. Wow, it's a big deal. Awesome. Daniel sheltered his brother-in-law Thomas from the Confederate troops as they searched the area. Thomas was discovered. Daniel and Betsy's home was burned down, and we think that Daniel may have been hanged on the spot. It's crazy, though I'm not certain of this. Thomas Moxley escaped and headed west with his younger brother, John Moxley. Their father's home was then burned down because Zachariah was considered a Union sympathizer. Tom and John escaped through Kentucky to Indiana, where they worked on farms until the end of the war. Later, they moved on. Thomas died in Carson City, Iowa, and John died in Missouri. We believe the western branch of the Moxley family began with them. Perhaps Tom and John would serve for the scoundrels you inquired about, though I don't feel a difference in political views fulfills this definition of scoundrel. I'm sending you a picture of each of them. So I love that story. So then she goes on and talks about another ancestor with kind of a shady past. Christina joins Moxley. So Christina, of course, was the wife of Nathaniel, who was my grandmother's great-grandfather, rather. So she was the wife of their younger brother, Nathaniel. After Nathaniel died in 1898, she married a man named Jack Porter. Wow. Okay. So Nathaniel dies. Christina joins Moxley, married Jack Porter. Now, Christina was the sister, of course, of Caroline Brenniger. So we talked about her in the last letter. So here it goes. They were later divorced, which was a very rare occurrence in those days. Then she went to Texas, where her brother-in-law John was living. She married John, and later they moved back to North Carolina near their families. Eula, older sister of Bland and Uncle Click, could remember when they lived there and ran a little store in the area. Christina and John were divorced, and John went back out west. There you have it, 2 divorces. Must have been quite a scandal in those days. Later in her life, she lived in Kentucky with her son, the Reverend H.C. Moxley, and family. The grandchildren who remember her, including your Uncle Click, liked her. Our granddaughter, Christina Carey Moxley, is named for her and for Grandpa Carey, as she calls him. So there you have it. 2 really cool stories. That's 3 huge stories, and I'm not even done with this letter. So I hope I didn't confuse you too much, but I really kind of like that our Moxley family were deserters and Union sympathizers and stood their ground, suffered because of it. So, I don't know, kind of interesting they survived that turmoil, and it's a reminder that this too shall pass, and, we'll get through this tough time. So, good night, y'all. I love you. This has been a Letters Live Read a Letter video.